nation, civil unrest has intensified with the demise of the U.S. dollar.
This is not a retreat, nor are we abandoning our Asian allies.
Under threat of annihilation by the Greater Korean Republic, Japan has surrendered.
It's a small world. It's a small world. It's a small world. We're living in one small world. It's a small world. It's a small world. We're living in one small world.
Continuing to follow the breaking news you saw first on Action News last night at 11. The FBI was a part of a raid in the Lenawee and Washtenaw County area. Now, witnesses tell Action News helicopters were flying overhead much of the night, and police officers seemed to be everywhere. Action News reporter Kim Craig is live in Washtenaw County with the latest this morning. Kim, good morning.
Good morning, Vic. Yes, we're at the Sheriff's Department where they seem to have, the FBI has set up a command post here. Now, there's still a lot about this case that we don't know and hope to find out later today, but there does seem to be a connection to the Michigan militia.
We've just got helicopters out there with spotlights going back and forth, and we've got undercover cops sitting at where each road meets all around the area.
Neighbors tell Action News that the raid carried out by federal agents centered on a house in Adrian where members of the Michigan militia live. The raids conducted by the FBI and the Anti-Terrorism Task Force lasted all day Saturday and went well into this morning. Federal agents made an unknown number of arrests, and we're told the presence of federal agents seemed more like a small army, and this chopper was also in the area searching for others. The major operation also extends here to the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department, where it appears federal agents have set up their command center, outfitted with their satellite trucks and a radio tower. And while the FBI is not saying much, every entrance here at the Sheriff's Department was being guarded. All this leaving those living around the home where the suspected Michigan militia members live to wonder.
We stopped and asked one of them, and he had just said that they are doing a bunch of search warrants and have made some arrests.
Things are very quiet here at the Sheriff's Department right now, where again we understand that the FBI was setting up a command post last night. A spokesperson for the FBI won't say what this case is about. All they will say is that the warrants are sealed and they will not comment any further. We will certainly keep you updated on this throughout the morning and the rest of the day here on Action News. For now, reporting live at the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department in Ann Arbor, Kimberly Craig.
After a lengthy investigation, the congressional architects of the Department of Homeland Security concluded today that FEMA, the agency that is supposed to respond to hurricanes and national disasters, should be taken out of the mammoth Homeland Security bureaucracy, disbanded, then put back together in a better way, and placed under direct control of the president during emergencies.
A Senate report on the government's response to Hurricane Katrina says FEMA is so far beyond repair that the agency should be scrapped.
It said that agency failed in its view to anticipate and then respond to Katrina.
FEMA is discredited, demoralized, and dysfunctional. FEMA is discredited, demoralized, and dysfunctional.
In the mid-1970s, the discredited federal government was more scared of the public than ever, coming off the years of Richard Nixon. And so two Cold Warriors inside the White House of Gerald Ford began to bring back some of the Cold War ideas of an executive takeover of the United States through a emergency federal agency. And those individuals were Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney. And so really what we see being set up by Jimmy Carter in 1979 is just a continuation of federal policy to expand a federal takeover plan for continuity of government. And so that's what the Federal Emergency Management Agency was really set up for.
Fusion Center means that they take all kinds of pieces of information and fuse them together.
Yeah, gathering intelligence.
It may or may not be intelligence.
It also appears to me to be very ripe for abuse. This technology that you're putting together, how easy could that be used against American citizens?
We don't watch people. We do watch trends.
But aren't trends people?
Not necessarily.
But they could be.
They could be.
we had an occasion to study the Fusion Center in Missouri. And it came out that they were focusing in on people with Ron Paul stickers on their cars.
Right.
Now, isn't that going above and beyond the Call of Duty? I mean, it even showed up conspiracy theorists.
Yep.
That puts me in there. Would I be under observation by a fusion center because of my beliefs that I don't always believe?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully.
Hopefully not.
First he tells me they just fuse information. Then he says he hopes they're not watching me.
Start out by saying thank you to all the brothers and sisters that have come here today representing this cause. I've been asked by Mr. Itak and the Tribal Council to speak to you and the members of the press about the injustice that's been brought against us by some government officials and big business. How many of you out there have heard of alternative engines? Engines that can run on anything from alcohol to garbage or water. Or carburetors that can get hundreds of miles to the gallon. Or electric or magnetic engines that can practically run forever. You don't know about them because if they were to come into use, they put the oil companies out of business. The concept of the internal combustion engine has been obsolete for over 50 years. But because of the oil cartels and corrupt government regulation, we and the rest of the world have been forced to use gasoline for over 100 years. Big business is primarily responsible for destroying the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. They have no care for the world they destroy, only for the money they make in the process. How many oil spills can we endure? Millions and millions of gallons of oil are now destroying the ocean and the many forms of life it supports. Among these is plankton, which supplies 60 to 90% of the Earth's oxygen. It supports the entire marine ecosystem, which forms the basis of our planet's food supply. But the plankton is dying. I thought, well, let's go to some remote state or country, anywhere on Earth. But in doing a little research, I realized that these people broker toxic waste all over the world. They basically control the legislation, and in fact, they control the law. The law says no company can be fined over $25,000 a day. If a company is making $10 million a day by dumping lethal toxic waste into the ocean, it's only good business to continue doing this. They influence the media so that they can control our minds. They have made it a crime to speak out for ourselves, and if we do so, we're called conspiracy nuts and we're laughed at. We're angry because we're all being chemically and genetically damaged, and we don't even realize it. Unfortunately, this will affect our children. We go to work each day, and right under our noses we see our car and the car in front of us spewing noxious and poisonous gases that are all cumulative poisons. These poisons kill us slowly, even when we see no effect. How many of us would have believed if we were told 20 years ago that on a certain day we wouldn't be able to see 50 feet in front of us? That we wouldn't be able to take a deep breath because the air would be a mass of poisonous gas? That we wouldn't be able to drink out of our faucets, that we'd have to buy water out of bottles? The most common and God-given rights have been taken away from us. Unfortunately, the reality of our lives is so grim nobody wants to hear it. Now I've been asked what we can do. I think we need a responsible body of people that can actually represent us rather than big business. This body of people must not allow the introduction of anything into our environment that is not absolutely biodegradable or able to be chemically neutralized upon production. And finally, as long as there's profit to be made from the polluting of our earth, companies and individuals will continue to do what they want. We have to force these companies to operate safely and responsibly, and with all our best interests in mind, so that when they don't, we can take back our resources and our hearts and our minds and do what's right.
Geoengineering is the artificial modification of our Earth's climate systems to mitigate global warming.
Surface waters in Northern California and many regions of our nation are testing alarmingly high in aluminum, barium, and many other dangerous contaminants.
Are we being exposed to danger?
Yes, you are being exposed to hundreds and even thousands of times higher than safe levels.
Is it the clouds from the airplanes?
Yes, our generation never had clouds that came from airplanes. Yours does. But those are not clouds. Jet trails now remain in the sky for up to an entire day, spreading out and raining reflective particles like aluminum that disrupt our planet's weather patterns.
We may also be suffering undue drought and vegetation losses, Alzheimer's and other neurological and respiratory distress.
What can we do? Please, please.
Please, investigate for yourself. Geoengineeringwatch.org.
Shaking the tree. Soon you're gone. Soon you're gone. We are shaking the tree. Waiting your time, dreaming of a better life. Waiting your time, you're more than just a wife. Have to do what your mother has done, she has done. This is your life, this new life has begun. It's your day, woman's day. It's your day, woman's day. Soon you're gone, soon you're gone. We are shaking the tree. Shaking the tree. Time to time, you were on the incoming wave. Time to time, you know you are nobody's slave. Find your sisters and brothers who can hear all the truth in what you say. They can support you when you're on your way. It's your day, woman's day. It's your day, woman's day. Soon you're gone, soon you're gone. We are shaking the tree. Soon
North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster? Mr. Chairman.
I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
One of the programs that got exposed during Iran-Contra was Rex 84. And Congressman Jack Brooks, in those hearings, brought up the fact that in reality, FEMA was a cover for a huge continuity of government program in case the American people ever rebelled, and that was the architecture or the blueprint for the illegitimate shadow government to fully take over the functions of the entire federal government, suspend the Constitution, suspend the Bill of Rights, and arrest whoever they wanted to. And FEMA was going to control the camps that the people were going to be put into. And FEMA would be the main governmental institution with different directors over every agency. And now when you watch FEMA on television, it's always a colonel or a general or an admiral in uniform who's over the different departments.
We're talking to you here from beautiful Maple Bay on Vancouver Island.
Bill's wife, and I was a school teacher for my working years. Now I'm happily retired.
My name is Bill Abram. I'm a retired school teacher too.
I believe we began watching almost when they began to show up here on the island in late 1998. And 1999 we became more aware of it because we saw articles about them in Ontario. In Espanola, the town of Espanola in Ontario had sued the government because they were having excessive drift down of aluminum, and rainwater had been tested, and it was far above levels of safety. So once we read that and knew that it was a real thing and we weren't just seeing contrails from normal airplanes, we began to watch very carefully. So that was after 99. Contrails are very commonly left behind a normal aircraft that's flying when the exhaust meets cold air, very cold air. It has to be 70 degrees below or something very cold, and it condenses, and you see it come out as a long line as the airplane flies, and normally they disappear within a few minutes. At the most, they've ever been measured to last about 20 minutes when conditions are very stable, but mostly they just disappear. The chemtrail, what we call chemtrails, is not the regular exhaust. It'll form, and it doesn't have to be into such cold air at all. At much lower levels, not so cold, and it sprays out, and it hangs there in the air. It doesn't disappear in a few minutes. It can spread out, get wider and wider, and it can last for hours.
Back in the early 50s, 1951, I signed up as a meteorological observer for the Department of Transport. I was stationed at North Bay, Ontario. As a weather observer, I had to identify every cloud in the sky and transmit the observations hourly to the Weather Service. And so, consequently, I certainly got to recognize what was a genuine cloud and what wasn't. At that time, of course, I had nothing to compare it with, so I just knew what mare's tails were and the elevations of the clouds. I had to identify them. But as I see the chemtrails here, they do not match what I was taught was cirrus or mare's tails or altostratus in a very thin layer. It just does not match with my observations in the early 50s, working as a weather observer.
I think it was 2001 when we really became more seriously interested. Will Thomas, who has the Lifeboat News website, began investigating it very thoroughly, and he lived right near us in Duncan. So we got in touch with him to see what he knew about things. He had studied the Espanola lawsuit against the government, and I had asked him, what do you know about biological agents being in this spray? Because they had discovered the aluminum and I think barium at that time, and also some quartz, light quartz, all particulate that damages your respiratory system. At that time, he said that he didn't have knowledge of there being biological agents like bacteria and fungus and things of that nature. But we kept in touch then, and as Bill said, we went through investigating about the people who were having definite health problems and putting it down to fallout from the sky.
When we were investigating the Cryptococcus neoformans, and as Celia said, people develop nosebleeds. I did develop a brief nosebleed too at that time. I was trying to capture some of the fallout, and I spread a black tarp out on the lawn. After a day of it being out there, there was a filmy, talcum, very slippery surface all over the black tarp, which, was not normal for the tarp. In the years succeeding, the chemtrails seemed to get sometimes much thicker, and you could see fallout from the chemtrail. It would drift out, and trails would be hanging down as if it were dust falling from the sky.
To begin with, all the trails were long and they were crisscrossing like a checkerboard. But then 2 years ago, we'd start to see a big puff of white, and then all the fallout, the strands and the powder drifting down, sailing out over the sky, and the plane would go along and be another big puff. They were starting to puff it out. The other interesting thing with the long ones is that makes you realize they're not contrails following an airplane. They're going along and they're very solid and then just stop. They're just cut off. Either the tanker ran out of spray or for some reason, or you'll see it come along and then take a U-turn and head back, which no commercial aircraft, which is what the authorities tell us. It's just a commercial aircraft.
Up in the sky, I can't help but wonder why, 'cause I know they're at it again. It's a sunny day, but the clouds will come my way, 'cause I know they're at it again. They're at it again. There's no illusion. They're at it again. So much confusion. They're at it again. Most of us don't want to believe. They're at it again. Temperatures rising. They're at it again. It's not surprising in the air for you to do it. What's the reason that they do it? Run around all day while the formations are spread. So look up. They're at it again. It's a sunny day, but the clouds will come your way, so come on. They're at it again. They're at it again. There's no illusion. They're at it again. So much confusion. They're at it again. Most of us don't want to believe. They're at it again. Temperatures rising. They're at it again. It's not surprising in the air for you to do it. What's the reason that they do it? Ooh, they're at it again. Baby, baby, they're at it again. Ooh, they're at it again. Baby, baby, they're at it again.
Amitakipi, Chajikidi Makupi,
Mamli Jaja Zizi. My name is Chief Golden Light Eagle from the Yankton Sioux Reservation, and I'm concerned, like all of you, and maybe some of you that don't know, we're concerned about our air. Our air is being polluted purposely by relatives that might call government, might call military, might call a New World Order. From somebody that doesn't like two-legged beings or any other form of life on Mother Earth. Because everything that you're doing to the air, you're doing to every living person on Mother Earth. It doesn't just affect us, it affects the trees, it affects life, all the chemicals that you're putting up here. It's not necessary, for the Earth takes care of its own. The universe takes care of its own. So could you please stop poisoning the air? The air belongs to everybody. Mitaku Yoasi.
The martial law portions of Rex 84 were outlined in a 1982 memo written by FEMA Deputy John Brinkerhoff. Martial law was to be declared in the event of a national crisis, yet the plan did not define the term national crisis. The plan allowed FEMA to take control of both federal and state governments, appointing military commanders to replace duly elected officials. The plan also called for the rounding up of at least 21 million American Negroes for delivery to numerous military bases converted into prison centers, also known as FEMA relocation camps. Why? Because at that time, African Americans were classified as one of the largest threats to the continuity of the federal government. Who does the federal government consider the biggest threat these days?
The convergence of globalization and technology has created a new brand of terrorism. There were persons who, for whatever reason, came to view their home country as the enemy.
The kind of right-wing, religious-based domestic terrorism.
Disturbing news tonight about homegrown terror.
Part of this is big change in the White House, a new cultural experience, and some of the crazies are coming out of their closet.
Right now, it looks like there is no connection between the men arrested and any known terrorist cell. Homegrown. Homegrown, I should say.
Folks, we've got a very serious situation here. I'm holding what is called the right-wing extremism, current economic and political climate, fueling resurgence and radicalization and recruitment. And in it, we talked about the fact that they define pro-lifers as domestic terrorists. They put this in a Department of Homeland Security document, this official assessment, now saying pro-lifers, people that believe in end-time prophecies, people that are opposed to the administration's position on immigration, those of us that are standing up for the sanctity of life and for the sanctity of marriage, all of those are now potential, and this is what they're saying, domestic terrorists.
It's a terrorist next door that could be our bigger threat.
They call people who believe in the sanctity of life, who believe in owning firearms, who believe in serving their country in the military and coming back, who are very concerned about the policies that this nation is embarking on, spending too much money, taxing too much. It's all listed right here. These are the domestic right-wing extremists.
1 million names under the watchful eye of the United States. America's so-called terrorist watch list has hit the record number according to one of the country's most prominent civil liberties groups.
That's a lot of people to keep track of. They're adding new people all the time.
It's a secret list that you don't know really quite how one gets on and you don't know how you get off.
Busy you, in and out of doors every day. Think how much dust and dirt settle on your skin. And makeup clings to your skin too and clogs pores. That's why your face needs a thorough cleansing each day. And that's why cleansing tests were made by an independent testing laboratory. This same kind of dirt was made just radioactive enough to register on a Geiger counter. Leading cleansing creams, complexion soaps, and Dorothy Gray Salon Cold Cream were used to remove this dirt. The Geiger counter proved that Dorothy Gray Salon Cold Cream cleanses up to 2.5 times more thoroughly than any soap or other cleansing cream tested. When you cleanse with Dorothy Gray Salon Cold Cream, you know you remove dirt. And more important, you remove every trace of makeup which can clog your pores. That's why Salon Cold Cream is especially recommended for a young complexion. A clean skin is a healthy skin, and your skin will look smoother and clearer when you use Dorothy Gray Salon Cold Cream. It's so quick and easy, too. Takes no more time than improper cleansing. For particulars of this Geiger counter story, write for this test booklet to Dorothy Gray Limited, Box 18, Grand Central Station, New York City.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Good! Wake up, America! Rise and shine! Wake up! Rise and shine! From home! Save our constitutional rights! From home! We're not gonna give up the fight! From home! Start a revolution and break down illegal institutions! We don't want no war no more. Bring our boys home to our shores. Booyah! We don't want big government or the Bilderberg group that pays for it. Federal ID means a police state. And Mr. Jefferson's rolling in his grave. And our names and the numbers like 666. According to the gospel on a pan of chips. From home! Save our constitutional rights! From home! We're not gonna give up the fight! From home! Start a revolution and break down illegal institutions! Booyah! Booyah! The Patriot Act took our liberties, and there's no judge, no jury. Tapping our phones, breaking down our doors, waging on the people a civil war. Work the street jobs and bring home no pay. IRS takes it all away. We struggle, slave, pay the rent. So from home, President. From home, save our constitutional rights. From home, we're not gonna give up the fight. From home, start a revolution and break down illegal institutions.
We haven't followed the Constitution, and that's what we ought to be doing. The system that we have today is ripping off the middle class and the poor. Can you imagine how great a nation we'd have if we didn't have the Federal Reserve System printing all this money?
From home! Save our constitutional rights! From home! We're not gonna give up the fight! From home! Start a revolution! Break down, break down, break down, break! From home! Save our constitutional rights! From home! We're not gonna give up the fight! From home! Start a revolution! Break down illegal institutions! From home!
to every fusion center, or do you run each fusion center separately with these basic policies?
Each one of them is managed separately. The federal government doesn't manage these operations.
But they oversee them.
No, they don't.
They don't?
No.
That was maybe the scariest discovery we made yet. Nobody's at the rudder. These fusion centers are running wild all over our rights. That peculiar. You mean they just give away the money and from that point on they say you're on your own?
Well,
the money.
Right.
Yeah. Imagine dozens of fusion centers, dozens of mini dictators you never heard of, a secret government funded by elite power brokers in the top echelon of Washington. What's the real scheme here?
And the subject is going to be the purpose of chemtrail aerosol. A.C. Griffith was associated with the National Security Agency. He carried a top-secret clearance, a cryptographic clearance, and in more recent times he was associated with the Central Intelligence Agency operations. He was married to a lady lawyer, judge, and his father-in-law was a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Virginia. He is with us today, and we want to say thank you very much, A.C. Griffith, for joining us to talk about the purpose of chemtrail aerosol. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the Power Hour today.
Thank you, Joyce. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, I must tell you, I think the listeners are going to get more today than they probably imagined, given the fact that you have some information that most people do not have access to, and probably information we would just as soon not know. However, knowledge is power, and we thank you for joining us, and I know that you have listened to the Power Hour in the past and have been very supportive of the activities and providing information to the Power Hour. Let's talk just as much as you want to talk about what your past experience was all about, sir.
I spent a couple days making talking points to make a guide map of how to present this to you. It is such a big topic. It's very difficult to know where to grab it to begin. Several years ago, I got a telephone call from Mike Blair at the Spotlight newspaper in Washington, now called the American Free Press. He asked me to help work with him on the story of the white trails coming out of the airplanes. And time has gone by. I guess that was 8 or 9 years ago. We actually got inside the program. We're the only people in the world that actually got inside of that program.
When you say you got inside that program,
the aerosol program, the chemtrail program,
you're talking about information on the inside of this program.
I'm talking about actually getting inside the program at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where it's being managed.
Wow.
And we actually got into some of the people that were dissatisfied from within the program, and they divulged a lot of the acronyms and the purpose of the program and so on. And that's the only way that anybody could ever have broken the secrecy of this program.
Okay.
We know that people have died over this program. People have been hit to keep them quiet. And we know that other things have happened to keep people in this program. One of the key people that designed the aerosol, the barium salt aerosol, was set up by people in the Reagan administration, and he's now sitting in federal penitentiary. They still go to him to ask him questions, but yet he is in the prison. That is a little unnerving, isn't it?
Yes, it is, absolutely.
That the man that designed the barium salt aerosol is sitting in a prison.
Well, it would sort of make sense. Now, before we go any further, let's just define what you believe to be the aerosol crime issue. I mean, just what is this aerosol that we're discussing? I mean, it comes out of aircraft, we believe, or we know, and that is the basis of a program that is set up to not do good to this country, but probably do harm. Now, I remember we had a couple of people on the program recently. You contacted me after that, and you said, Joyce, some of the information was accurate, some of it was inaccurate. But what we do know is there's something in the skies that should not be there.
The white trail's not coming out of the engines. It's coming out of aerosol units on the aircraft. In the very beginning, the early days, the aircraft were flying relatively low, 10,000 feet or below, and they were developing the program. They were mostly contract aircraft, mostly CIA aircraft. Now the program has been expanded, and commercial airliners have been outfitted with aerosol units that are controlled through computer systems and satellites to dispense a barium salt mixture. It's a mixture of barium salt, not coming out of the engine. It's coming out of aerosols. And we have checked on information. We do confirm that the name of the project is Project Cloverleaf in the aircraft industry. It is very secretive. It is the most secretive thing I have ever encountered. People have died over this, talking about it.
The EU has delivered on its threat to ban the import of crude oil from Iran in response to its nuclear program. The latest round of sanctions prohibits any new oil contracts while allowing for existing deals to run until July. But Tehran is apparently finding ways to keep the business pumping. Reports say Iran will keep supplying one of its biggest customers, India, but will get payment in gold instead of dollars. Artist Priya Sridhar reports from New Delhi.
India actually has already bought Iranian oil using gold instead of U.S. dollars. And this is extremely significant because every year India actually spends $12 billion U.S. dollars on Iranian oil. And now actually Beijing is also saying that it might want to jump on board with New Delhi and also look into some sort of agreement with Iran to continue to get oil. New Delhi and Beijing actually account for 40% of the imports of Iranian oil. The EU only counts for 20%. Obviously, we've been talking about all week about this oil embargo that the EU announced on Monday that they're hoping to roll out and put into place by July 1st. And obviously, if New Delhi and Beijing find a way to continue trading with Iran using gold instead of U.S. dollars, this would severely hurt what the European Union and Washington is trying to do. Russia has also said that it wants to continue trading with Iran using domestic currencies instead of U.S. dollars. Obviously, the point of the EU oil embargo would be to bring Iran back to the negotiations table over its nuclear program. Obviously, Iran has said consistently maintained that this is a peaceful nuclear program. The West believes that they are potentially developing nuclear weapons. So in response to the EU's announcement on Monday that it will place an oil embargo on Iran, Iran has said that it's going to shut the Strait of Hormuz, which is actually where 20 to 30% of the world's oil supply shuttles through. And the United States has said it will absolutely not allow that to happen, even sort of alluding to the fact that it could potentially use military force to make sure that that strait stays open. Moscow has also said that sanctions are an obsolete form of sort of punishing a country and that it's actually going to be counterproductive. Another interesting thing to note here is that if Beijing and New Delhi continue to trade,
Active galaxies require a massive compact energy source of enormous strength to stabilize the orbits of stars contained within them. The engine, which drives the direction of rotation and shape of each galaxy, consists of what astrophysicists refer to as a supermassive black hole, located in the direct center. The central black hole, located within our galaxy, contains an estimated mass of over 1 trillion stars and is believed to be over 2 trillion miles in diameter. Many leading astro and quantum physicists also believe that supermassive black holes spin at an unbelievably high rate due to their overwhelming mass. At this high rate of spin, the black hole's projected gravitational field is no longer spherical, but rather flattens out to form a massive yet extremely thin spinning disk. Our galactic plane can easily be identified by even the untrained eye. As one views the shape and characteristics of our own galaxy from images provided by the Hubble telescope and projected computer simulations, we can easily see that all matter moves and is formed around this flattened gravitational influence. But what does this have to do with humanity's future? In the Milky Way, which is an active galaxy our solar system cyclically moves above and below this galactic plane. As stars and planetary systems, including our own, approach this galactic plane, the gravitational influence increases, which disturbs the stability of each planet, including Earth. The passage through the densest portion of the gravitational plane is the direct cause of the devastating cycles and pole shifts that we see recorded throughout Earth's history. This cyclic nature of our solar system as we move through the Milky Way is precisely how many ancient civilizations based their calendar systems. The Mayans themselves describe what they refer to as the Dark Rift, or the galactic plane, in ways eerily similar to those of modern scientists and physicists. The Mayans state that the end of each age, which brings about worldwide devastation, is defined by the world sitting on the Dark Rift. Even though the Mayans don't clearly present the science behind why the galactic plane causes severe implications upon Earth's stability in modern terminology, it is very clear that we are talking about the same event, an event where the Earth passes through the galactic equinox, the Dark Rift, or the central plane. It all refers to the cyclic and destructive gravitational influence created by the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way. Researchers and scientists agree that we are indeed approaching the end of what the Mayans define as the current age. Even though many science groups are still debating the full implications of what passing through the galactic plane will have upon Earth, we have already begun to see the early stages that the increased gravitational influence is having upon our world and other planets in the solar system. As we approach the gravitational plane, we will continue to experience severe weather and ecological effects such as earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, and volcanic activity with increased frequency and intensity. As we penetrate the densest portion of the galactic plane and experience the full gravitational effects, we may witness unprecedented solar flares, unexpected meteor showers, and one or more geographical pole shifts. Subsequently, unexpected celestial objects may pass through the solar system as they too are influenced by the gravitational plane. This may account for the ancient records describing several past worldwide catastrophes accompanied by passing bodies, comets, or what some researchers today refer to as Planet X. Well, one thing is for sure. The ancients endured several worldwide catastrophes that all but erased their civilizations from the face of the earth. Their clues, structural remains, and records have attempted to warn us and prepare us for the reoccurrence of this cyclic event. Warnings that so far humanity has ignored. Though modern researchers have a general time frame, we are still unable to pinpoint the exact year in which we will begin passing through the galactic plane. So even though the telltale signs are already evident throughout our world, how can it be known for sure when you should be bracing for tomorrow?
In 2001, researchers from India's Oceanic Institute detected anomalies on the bottom of the Gulf of Combat, 7 miles from shore.
They had been commissioned by the Indian government to do a survey of pollution in the Gulf of Combat up in the northwest of India. And they were not expecting to find anything except a mess down there. But suddenly, their side-scan sonar started returning images of regular structures.
The images revealed an enormous network of stone buildings, now shrouded in mud and sand, and covering an area of 5 square miles.
What we're looking at in the Gulf of Combat are the remains of cities. There's actually 2 of them. And it turns out that they are positioned on the side of ancient river channels. They look like cities that have been submerged for a very long time, at a time when mainstream archaeology tells us there were no cities anywhere in the world.
Powerful cross currents made it nearly impossible to dive the 170 feet to the bottom. Still, scientists retrieved dozens of artifacts, including wood and pottery shards.
Some of the dates on some of the human artifacts
that were brought up extended as far back as 32,000 years. But the oceanographers concluded that the area had been covered by water about 9,000 years ago. So this city had apparently existed from 32,000 to about 9,000 years ago.
Mainstream scholars today claim that ancient Indian civilization only goes back 4,000 or 5,000 years. Yet Hindu scholars themselves say that Hindu civilization is going back many tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of years.
Fair use notice. This site contains copyrighted material, the use of which has not been authorized by the copyright owner. We are making such material available in our efforts to advance understanding of environmental, political, human rights, economic democracy, scientific, and social justice issues, etc. We believe this constitutes a fair use of any such copyright material as provided for in Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Law. In accordance with Title 17, U.S.C. Section 107, the material is distributed without profit to those who have expressed a prior interest in receiving the included information for research and educational purposes.
Some people tune in, they're waiting. The lights are a sound. And some people read the last chapter, the one they call John. Red man leaves his sweat in the lodge to dance in the sun. So long as their heart's in the right, I'll join in the fight. Only when I'm loving, only when I pray, only when I seek you out for a union, only when I use my mind in a universal way, only when my karma breaks will I find my day. Look for Atlantis, where history is turned upside down. Sooner or later that skeleton is sure to be found. But we're right for a way, we're the same fate, we are not bound. Surrounded, this prison of short-sighted haze. Let's get out of this maze today. Only when I'm loving,
This is Small World Radio, smallworldradio.net. A signal of love. Expect us.